What's up, guys? Paramoto here. How are you guys doing today? Today I'm doing amazing. I figured I would take you guys along some of my favorite backcountry routes and explain why I bought my 2020 Harley-Davidson Roadster. I'm going to delve into the backstory before this channel and why I decided to get a Sportster Roadster. So hang tight. If you guys haven't already, please make sure to like and subscribe. It helps me out a ton. If you haven't already, please make sure to hit that bell notification. We are doing a video every single day for the month of June. Hop on the bandwagon, watch some awesome content, and you know what? Enjoy motor cackles, because that's what this is all about. Enjoy motor cackles. My transition from sport bikes to, you know, cruisers, standard bikes, whatever you would call this, kind of started back when I first got into motorcycles. So I got really into like sport bikes and like little, you know, small CC displays of sport bikes, Ninja 300s and stuff like that, back when I was a beginner motorcyclist. When I had my Ninja 300, I loved every single second of it. I would take that bike literally everywhere. There would be a seldom a week where I wouldn't do at least like a 400 to 600 mile trip on that thing. I did so many trips on that thing that I ended up having to do an oil change basically every single month. So I had to do an oil change on that thing basically every single month because of how much I was riding it. So I mean, you guys do the math, an oil change every month is a lot of riding, guys. Eventually, after about a year came on, you know, I really enjoyed the upright seating, being comfortable, and just generally having a cool looking motorcycle and whatnot. But eventually came the day where it was time to upgrade, right? So, you know, being into sport bikes as I am and was, I ended up getting a CBR 600RR. CBR 600RR effectively ended all of my motorcycle road tripping. Like the day that I got into super bikes was the day that I stopped doing road trips and doing any sort of long rides on motor cackles. Just really kind of a bummer, to be honest with you. I don't know about you guys, but to me that kind of, just even talking about it kind of bums me out. If I would have known that, I may have gotten a different motorcycle. Maybe I would have gotten the Ninja 650 instead, or something else. Why are there so many cars in that driveway? I ended up going down the superbike train for a while, right? So I did a 2014 CBR 600 that I bought brand new. Ended up getting totaled, right? Turned around and bought a brand new CBR 13 that was actually CBR 600RR 2013 model, and literally loved the bike, but still same problems. Too uncomfortable to road trip before. It was kind of a bummer. I was like, man, like what's, you know, and like to me, like I couldn't figure out what was going on. Like, why don't I want to road trip anymore? I used to love road tripping and like getting out in the country roads with the cornfields. I didn't really just put two and two together that I had a very uncomfortable motorcycle. And when you have a very uncomfortable motorcycle, you're not really, you know, encouraged to go put a ton of miles on it, right? The superbike game kind of ended all of the road tripping, and then I got a Ducati Panigale, and again, same problem. At that point, I realized that, you know, maybe I need to look somewhere different. Maybe I need to look into a cruiser, you know, something that's comfortable to ride everywhere, you know. And that's really when I started, like that's really when the lights started turning on. Like, dude, maybe you should get a Harley. You know, you want to do a road trip on motorcycles, you want to do epic road trips on motorcycles. That's basically what a Harley-Davidson is. It's a road trip machine. Maybe not so much a Sportster, you know, but I wasn't willing to drink the Kool-Aid from the rip, you know. And honestly, I probably still aren't. But I ended up buying a Harley. And I bought a Harley mainly just for road trips. I ended up walking into Raging Bull Harley-Davidson in Durham, North Carolina, and I saw this bike, this exact motorcycle, and I'm like, I like that. It's sporty, it's classic looking, it's got a little bit of a cafe racer inspired look to it. It's, you know, it looks fast. It kind of, after you do a stage one, it kind of is fast, right? It's a looker. It doesn't look like those, you know, goofy looking gigantic bagger bikes. I still don't really like those, no hate, but those still aren't really my cup of tea. And it's comfortable enough where You know, I'm upright. I got mid-foot controls, which, I mean, I need to put some forwards on this thing, you know. But it really encouraged me to start looking at road trips again, and I've done that. I just got back from the Outer Banks. It was like 500 miles round trip. I do still have other plans to road trip, time permitting, this year. And this bike is really just, it's opened the door back up to doing epic things on motorcycles. Instead of just being an around the town, you know, top speed racing machine, you know, I want to go out and I want to actually see the country on a motorcycle again. Biggest reason why I got into Harley Davidsons, and the biggest reason why I even looked at a Harley Davidson, was the fact that I want to get back into road trips, guys. You know, sport bikes are just not the bike to do that on. My Panigale from Raleigh to Virginia Beach once, and I'll be honest with you, it was hard. It was a hard ride. You know, at the end of my trip last week, I mean, I did 100 miles without even blinking. You know, 100 miles without even getting out of the saddle. I wasn't in pain. It wasn't too terribly uncomfortable. You know, and 100 miles in a rip, that's about a quarter of what I want to do a day on a major road trip. So, you know, this bike is totally capable, you know, mechanically and also just generally comfort-wise. So, I'm happy with my choice. I'm happy with I'm happy with this bike. Why did I pick the 2020 Harley Davidson Roadster versus, you know, a bagger or, you know, maybe a Softail? Well, I'll be honest with you. I picked the Roadster because it's small, it's lightweight, it's easy to flick around, and it's kind of like a Goldilocks bike. You know, it's not the biggest bike, so it's got the weight and the heft to be stable on the freeway. It's also got nimbleness. It's just a good in-between bike, because for the most part, even though I do plan on taking this on road trips, for the most part, it is going to be an around-the-town bike. I think this is probably the sportiest Harley Davidson that they have, besides for maybe the Softail Lowrider S. I love that bike. That might be my next one. It's got dual disc front brakes. It's got inverted forks. It's a sportier motorcycle. It's not this classic Harley Davidson, you know, all form, no function bike. Like, they actually got into some of the modern era with this. You could even buy it with ABS if you really felt like it. I didn't. I mean, because I didn't want any electronics on this bike. This is very much probably the sportiest Harley Davidson that they've ever made. And it's sad that they discontinued it, to be honest with you. I haven't looked up at the values of this motorcycle, but I'm sure they've gone up a little bit since. I mean, I think they really hit the nail on the head with this motorcycle. I think the only thing that I think they needed to do, though, is add another 20 or 30 horsepower to it. You know, just let it rev up a little bit more, just a little bit more, and you'd probably get close to, you know, 100 horsepower. I think it's thumbnail time, guys. If you guys been with this channel for a while, you know that I've done a few thumbnails here. It's a cool little spot. I love the looks of this bike. You look at it, it's like, it's kind of cafe. It's kind of classic. You know, there's just hints of a lot of just cool old motorcycles with this bike. I think the next mods that I'm going to do is probably a headlight. I do still have the grips and the levers to put on. I need to do that next rainy day I have. So, I know what a lot of my sport bike audience is thinking, that I'm giving up on sport bikes. I don't want to say that I've given up on sport bikes, but I really like my Harley Davidson. I really like this. And I kind of wish more people would give it a chance, you know? I don't know why these bikes get so much hate. Everybody that hates on these motorcycles, like, oh, they're big and heavy. And it's like, no, they're not. They're not. No, they're not. Like, they're just not. You know, like, yeah, they're heavier than a sport bike, but guess what a sport bike is? A sport bike is a race bike. Everything's going to be heavier than that. Than maybe a dirt bike, you know? Yeah, they don't have a ton of power, but they have a ton of torque. I'll tell you this much right now. So, this bike pulls harder than my freaking Ducati does, dude. It's got so much torque down low, and that's where you, like, need most of your power. A lot of people don't realize that. Like, yeah, it's not a freaking race bike, but at the same point, it's set up to be a better daily driver. All the power is down low. It's heavier and it's lower to the ground to make your average everyday life more appealing. I mean, that's really what it comes down to, is that it's easier to get on a daily basis on a Harley Davidson than it is just about any sport bike. I think it's about time that we kind of settle the Harley versus sport bike debate and just say that, like, hey man, like, both are good, like both are freaking good. They're just they're good at different things, you know, and that's okay. But anyway, guys, that was, in case you're wondering, that was Kemp, Carpenter Pond, Cooley, and Virgil. Those are probably my favorite, just like back roads, they're like my favorite roads that if I just want to go out and do a quick ride, you know, they're twisty, there's nobody usually on them, not a lot of traffic. Ugh. Anyway, guys, if you haven't already, please make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button down below. It helps me out so much. Anyway, guys, thank you for watching. Deuces.